When we think of fire, we may think about objects burning and being destroyed. And in everyday vernacular, fire is depicted as a destructive force. It's often depicted as something we should not even contend with. And on the other hand, fire protects us from cold. It gives us comfort. It helps cook our food and brings us light when we need it. So, what's the difference between the destructive dimension of fire and its antithesis? Fire is destructive when we fail to contain it. It casts adversity and harm upon us because we have essentially failed to understand it. But when we exercise care and common sense and take time to understand and appreciate what it's capable of, fire can be a really beautiful thing. And when we contain fire, we can realize its potential to enhance our experience here on this physical earth realm. I'm sharing this analogy because we can say much of the same about the Demiurge, or the antagonistic force in our lives. The Demiurge is the masculine antagonistic force in our reality that helps us realize and understand boundaries, limits, and consequences. He doesn't intend to cast harm and adversity upon us specifically. He is there to teach us about our vulnerabilities and extend every opportunity for us to learn as much about ourselves and to emerge as a stronger spiritual being because of his presence. But like fire, it's important to understand the Demiurge has two dimensions. There exists his ability to turn into an adverse and destructive and harmful force, and then there's his antithesis. He has the ability to enable us to emerge as a stronger spiritual being by experiencing both sides of the pendulum, to realize the center, and to open the doors to realizing balance, harmony, and inner beauty. And like fire, the only way to realize the antithesis of his adverse and destructive and harmful ways is to restrain him. It is to restrain the antagonist. Restraining is the process of preventing this force from doing something, to keep this force under control and to deprive him of the freedom he needs to act upon you. I use the word restrain because it encompasses all the tools you already have to create the momentum that's necessary for you to learn, to manifest your reality, and realize your destiny. How does one restrain the antagonist? How does one create conditions that are conducive to realizing the benefits of the antagonist rather than its antithesis? Well, first of all, consider the Demiurge as being analogous to an organism. In order for an organism to thrive, it needs nutrients. It needs an environment that's hospitable to its existence. If it is denied either or both, it will either flee to where it can find both, or it will expire. Unlike most organisms, we can't make the Demiurge go away, nor can we destroy him. Eliminating this antagonistic force from our reality is not the answer. This might be a good time to begin asking some very important questions about the antagonistic forces present in your reality. How have you invited those forces into your reality in the first place? How have you reacted to them once you've become aware of their presence? And what role have they played in inviting other adverse forces into the picture? What role have they played in helping you see both sides of the pendulum? It's important to open yourself to understanding the antagonist as playing a role in your life that is just as important as the forces that create love, pleasure, compassion, and beauty. That's why it's important to ask these questions to better understand the antagonist within you. The Challenges can seem daunting, but they're not there to stop you. They are there to make you pause and take a moment to do some internal work. How does one go about restraining the antagonist and using that force in a helpful rather than a harmful manner? In order for the antagonist to effectively exert harm and adversity upon us, he needs an environment hospitable to it. This is where we have opportunities to use our ability to manifest reality to create an environment with parameters and barriers and constraints, an environment where his movements are confined to the limits that you set. You get to decide what those limits are. You get to create the conditions that restrict his actions and thus restrict his power over you. The Demiurge is an organism. Your fear and vulnerability are his nutrients. Your unresolved self is the environment that's hospitable to his existence. Together, they provide everything the Demiurge needs to thrive. And by resolving fear and understanding your vulnerabilities, the Demiurge has less of a reason to cast adversity upon you. By doing the inner work necessary to resolve what remains unresolved, the environment for the Demiurge to thrive becomes increasingly less hospitable. Hence, the antagonist becomes restrained. We falter because we fail to create such environments. When one embraces the Demiurge and accepts his presence in its entirety, they also accept subjection to the harm and adversity he is able to cast. They also accept the false lights he has the propensity to lead us toward. And when you are in so deep, you lose sight of the big picture. You lose sight of seeing the Demiurge for what he really is. That's all for now. Be well, sun gaze, and thrive selflessly.